This channel, a systematic teaching, enables you to put an end to suffering and reincarnation. Please find the playlist of this series in the description. Mahayana Pure Land welcomes you. Introduction to Amitabha's 48 Great Vows. Finally, having a solid foundation in reincarnation and causality, we can now learn the core doctrine of Buddha Shakyamuni's 49 years teachings, Amitabha's 48 Great Vows. But before we start to enter this essence of Pure Land Buddhism, first let us explore the origin of Buddhist Sutras. How were Buddhist Sutras formed? In the middle of the 6th century BC, Shakyamuni Buddha preached in India for nearly 50 years after his enlightenment. However, during these years of his life, his teachings were not written down. After the Buddha went to parinirvana, his disciples thought that the Buddha's teachings were so precious that it would be too pitiful if they were not passed down. Among all disciples, Venerable Ananda had the best memory. He could memorize completely what the Buddha had said after listening even only once. So he was asked to retell what the Buddha said. Under the absolute protection of King Ajatasattu, 500 arhats gathered at the Ciyeyan in the city of Wangshe, where the sutra was iterated by Ananda at the first assembly led by Da Kasyapa. At that time, 500 arhats of the Buddha's disciples listened to Ananda's iteration. Only when all 500 arhats agreed that Ananda's words were the true words of the Buddha would they write it down. Then the arhats verified the written contents word by word, sentence by sentence. In the case one of them opposed the written content, if even only one sentence, that sentence had to be omitted. Only when a passage was checked and verified by all the arhats would it be adopted by the assembly. The sutras were achieved under such a strict standard in order to earn the trust from future generations, making this material, the Tripitaka, superiorly precious. Sutras can never be altered. In our second series, about causality, in Part 4, we also mentioned the story of Master Xuanzang who risked his own life, going through numerous ordeals to go to India to collect and bring back a significant amount of sutras to translate into Chinese. His work drove Mahayana Buddhism to accomplish its glory in China. Countless people practiced accordingly and attained great achievement. For this account, in Chinese Buddhist circles, in order to keep the original facet of the sutras, there is a very strict law. Sutras can only be annotated and can never ever be altered. That is why the sutras we see today are still in their original form after having been passed down for hundreds, even thousands of years. The truth interpreted by Buddhist scriptures are applicable to all Dharma realms. It has been so in the past, it is so in the present, and it will be so in the future as well, because the truth can only be discovered, not created. The Buddha often said in the scriptures that the Dharma he spoke was not only said by him, but by the Buddhas of the past, and it will also be spoken by the Buddhas of the future. In other words, there is no difference in the content spoken by the past, present, or future Buddhas. Because what they speak is the noumena phenomena of the universe they have seen, the thusness of all Dharma. Since Buddhism, as an eternal truth being attained by all Buddhas due to their ultimate enlightenment, is beyond the knowledge and experience of our mundane world, it does not rely on artificiality. It exists as thusness, not having been created by someone. So the Buddha Sutras cannot be increased or decreased by even one word. That is the strict law followed in Buddhist circles. How was the Surangama Sutra brought to China? Talking about how the past patriarchs contributed to the Tripitaka, we must mention an incredible sutra, the Surangama Sutra. In ancient times, Eminent Indian monks came to China to spread the Dharma and brought many classics to China, but there was no Surangama Sutra. Many eminent monks in China who went to India to study did not see this sutra, nor did Master Xuanzang, who lived in India for more than a decade. This is due to the kings of India at that time regarding the Surangama Sutra as a national treasure. All classics can be learned by foreigners and be passed on to foreign countries except the Surangama Sutra. So for a long time, no one knew that this sutra existed. It was not until the early Tang Dynasty, the golden age of Chinese Buddhism, that Master Zhizhe heard about the Surangama Sutra. Master Zhizhe was the patriarch of the Tiantai sect. Although the Tiantai sect was not founded by him, it was completed by him. At that time, some eminent Indian monks visited Master Zhizhe on Tiantai Mountain. When they heard Master Zhizhe talking about the threefold samatha and threefold vipassana, these eminent Indian monks admired him so much that they said, "The samatha vipassana you discovered are similar to what was stated in the Surangama Sutra." Only then did the Chinese know that there is another precious sutra in India named Surangama Sutra. At that time, Master Zhizhe, hoping to see this sutra to prove whether his epiphany of threefold samatha and threefold vipassana resonated with what the Buddha said. He was very eager to see this scripture, so he built a platform on Tiantai Mountain and prostrated himself towards the west every day, imploring this sutra to come to China until his death, a total of 18 years. Decades later, during the reign of Zhongzong and Wu Zetian in the Tang Dynasty, an eminent monk in India, Pramitri, having heard about Master Zhizhe praying for 18 years, was deeply moved and felt that this sutra must have a special affinity with the sentient beings in the East. He then decided to bring this sutra to China, even though it was regarded as a national treasure in India and was forbidden to be taken abroad. With a strong will, Master Pramitri thought of various ways to accomplish this. First, he hid the Surangama Sutra carefully, but was found out by customs. The second time, he memorized the entire sutra but forgot some of it after a long journey. He had no choice but to turn back. The third time, he used a method that is unimaginable by ordinary people. He copied the Surangama Sutra on a very thin white silk cloth, cut open his arm muscles, rolled up the silk cloth, and then sewed it into his own arm. He waited until the wound healed before taking it abroad. This time he succeeded. When Master Pramitri landed by sea in Guangzhou, China, he told some eminent monks in Guangzhou that he had brought the Surangama Sutra into China. Those monks were thrilled because the name of the Surangama Sutra had been heard for decades due to Master Zhizhe having worshipped at the praying platform for 18 years. Master Pramitri cut open his arm and took out the scriptures. They soaked the scripture in human milk to wash away the blood. It worked great, and this sutra finally appeared in China and was translated into Chinese from Sanskrit. A monk is a law-abiding person. After the translation was completed, Master Pramitri went back to India and reported to the king that the Surangama Sutra had been brought to China and translated into Chinese, and he was willing to take the punishment. Sharing our meager work with those who have affinity. These stories tell us how precious and difficult it is for us to see and hear these sutras. We must bring forth the most profound gratitude to great practitioners and patriarchs who were involved in the work to pass on the Dharma. In the past, the translation of Buddhist scriptures depended on the institution formed by hundreds or even 1,000 people who had high achievement in practice, and they were all sponsored by kings or emperors. In our modern time, the degenerate Dharma era, this splendid phenomena no longer exists. We can only work individually and regard it as personal learning and cultivation, sharing our meager work with people who have affinity with. Thanks to technology nowadays, which allows us to do research much easier than in the past and makes our work possible. But it is inevitable that our work must have many flaws due to our shallow knowledge and deep karmic obstacles. We only hope that our humble work offers future generations a little reference, just as the work from those dedicated to the field in the past had offered us tremendous references. Empowered by your benevolent critiques, may one day in the near future the best translation version would appear. It is just like Confucius Analects, originally having 3 versions, Ancient Analects, Qi Analects, and Lu Analects, was compiled about 600 years later by Zheng Xuan and became the best version. In our next series, we will start the Buddha's most important teaching, Amitabha's 48 Great Vows. This series is translated from Venerable Dinghong's commentaries in Japan. Venerable Dinghong, formerly known as Dr. Zhong Mao Sen, is the author of The Scientific Proof of Causal Reincarnation, which we translated into English and made into our first video series, To Awakening. Venerable Dinghong, a professor in finance in the US and Australia, gave up all his remarkable achievement and followed Master Jingkong to learn Buddhism decades ago. Later, he learned precepts from preceptor Guoqing in Taiwan. After finishing his learning in precepts, he aspired to do a 10-year retreat for a genuine achievement. Prior to the commentaries of Amitabha's 48 Great Vows from Venerable Dinghong, we will present to you the verse of Amitabha's 48 Great Vows. We are very honored to have Venerable Zheng Guan to proofread for us. Venerable Zheng Guan received his master's in social work from Columbia University, his master's of divinity in Buddhist chaplaincy from the University of the West, and his PhD from the School of Philosophy at Renmin University of China. He was the first Chinese Buddhist monk to serve in the U.S. Army Chaplain Corps for 2.5 years. His works include Theory and Practice, Clinical Buddhist Chaplaincy in North America, and Foundations for Developing Buddhist Tranquility and Insight Meditation. With Chinese and English captions in our work, it is easy to scrutinize the accuracy of our translation for your convenience. Please leave comments if you have suggestions. All comments are welcome and appreciated. Thanks for watching. See you soon on the first part of Amitabha's 48 Great Vows.